Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer. And I help you to crack the code of your sleeping dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, I thought it would be helpful to look at shift work and its impact on our ability or lack of ability to sleep. Now, a shift worker is anyone who follows a schedule that is outside of the normal 9 to 5 business day. Um, this is, while it's from a competitive standpoint, it's an excellent way to increase production and customer service without increasing costs. It takes its toll on us physically as well as psychologically. Shift workers can include people such as doctors, nurses, pilots, people who build bridges, police, fire personnel, customer service representatives, especially with these call-in centers all around the world now, and even drivers, commercial drivers, truckers. Now, with regard to the symptoms of suffering from sleep disturbances due to shift work, besides excessive sleepiness, of course, other symptoms will include insomnia, disrupted sleep schedules, reduced performance, difficulties with personal relationships. If you're not feeling good, you're tired, you're going to be snappish with your employees and or fellow co-workers, and certainly with your family because they're your nearest and dearest. Irritability and a low mood are also characteristic of shift work sleep disorders. Now, this sleepiness and the fatigue in the workplace can actually lead to such problems as poor concentration, absenteeism, accidents, errors, injuries, and even in extreme cases, fatalities. Now, this issue becomes even more alarming when you consider the fact that shift workers are often employed in the most dangerous of jobs, such as firefighting, emergency medical services such as A&E, emergency rooms, law enforcement, and security. And in light of political realities at the moment, where police and military even are being called on to give extraordinary service, you can imagine how easy it is for people to go off their rocker and start to shoot when they're not haven't had a good night's sleep because of the shift work that they do. Now, the impact of shift work on health can play all kinds of negative roles in a worker's health, and predisposing them to chronic diseases such as hypertension, high blood pressure, stroke, obesity, decreased immunity, some cancers, anxiety, and as of course we mentioned before, depression. Now, this is something that I wasn't aware of, and I think women take note. Female shift workers are at a higher risk of breast cancer compared to non-shift workers because of the disturbance of their circadian or day-night rhythm. There's a decreased release of melatonin and cortisol hormones, which are produced during the deepest levels of sleep, which takes place among nighttime shift workers, which causes a cascade of events, including a release of inflammatory markers in the body, which predisposes women to a higher risk of breast cancer. So poor sleep and shift work, particularly for women, can really be very damaging to the health, even leading to breast cancer, possibly. There's also an increased risk of sleep disturbances and with increased shift hours, which can lead to occupational injuries. Due to fatigue and the somnolence, you're half awake, shift workers can't perform their duties efficiently, and their productivity will also be negatively impacted. Now, it's not entirely understood whether this is related to the fact that shift workers are awake and active during night hours, or because they're getting fewer hours of sleep, um, as opposed to traditional working hours from 9 to 5, is not really clear. It's not understood fully. But in addition to all of that, whether what the cause is whether is known or not, personal lives of shift workers will also suffer. They're often missing out on important family dates and social events simply because of their unsociable work hours. Now, I remember this personally myself. My mother was a nurse, and I remember at 17, it was New Year's Eve, and my mother was home, and I asked her, what was she doing there? I was so used to her not being around in the holidays or coming home early in the morning of a holiday and sleeping all day, that it just didn't compute that she was actually home for the holidays. So it can really, in terms of family dynamics, can create a lot of tension and estrangement, even in some cases. Now, people who work in the transportation industry face some of the most serious challenges because they are battling fatigue due to their irregular work schedules, and they're enduring long, tedious hours at the control switch or behind the wheel. And in fact, research has suggested that drowsy driving caused by sleep deprivation may be one of the leading safety hazards in the transportation industry. And if you've ever taken a long trip, I mean, a drive where you're talking about, 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever hours, it is very easy, especially when you're doing highway driving, to become lulled and start to doze off, even if you're slightly sleepy. So you can imagine the danger that people who are truckers face. They're supposed to stop regularly, but to make the money, they got to get their loads delivered ahead of time, and that means taking the dope, taking the speed, doing whatever they got to do to get them there. But it doesn't pay off in the end because they may doze off at the wheel. Now, what can you do to cope with the disturbance that in your sleep that is due to shift work? Well, I mean, if you're having difficulty sleeping during the day, it's chances are that you're also having trouble keeping awake at work. And the more sleepy and fatigued you're feeling, the more likely you're going to experience what's called micro sleep, where you catch yourself dozing off for just a second or two. That second or two driving is enough to create an accident. So but this is involuntary. You have no control over it, but your body is just so exhausted that it snatches with a few seconds of sleep if it's at all possible. But here are some tips that you could use to help you to stay alert while on the job. First of all, avoid long commutes and extended hours if at all possible. And I know with people these days, with post-lockdown or re-lockdown or whatever the heck it is these days, people are working strange hours. They may be working longer hours, even if they're working from home. But to avoid long commutes if possible, and working too many hours in one go. Take short naps if you can during the shift. If studies have shown that taking those power naps, the 20 to 40 minutes, not only improves our performance, improves our memory, but it can actually be quite beneficial in terms of being able to continue to function normally for later hours in the day. Work with others. Try not to work on your own. And that's a bit difficult at the moment, but if there's some way that you can work online in conjunction with others, it will help you. Or if you're working in an environment where you are with others, having a team or at least one other person can help you to stay alert. Take breaks, take regular breaks, and be active during those breaks. Get up, take a walk, shoot some hoops in the parking lot, whatever it is. Do something, get your body moving so it doesn't fall into that somnolent state. And finally, you have colleagues who are suffering with the same thing you are. Exchange ideas with them on the ways that they have found to cope with the problems of shift work. Quite often, we can gain insight and tips from our colleagues because they're struggling with the same issues as well, and you can support each other. So there you have it. That's a little bit about the impact of shift work on not only your sleep but your health. And if you think that this is a problem for you, or you're having some other kind of problem with falling or staying asleep, get some free advice. Just give me a call. Contact me. I can be reached at www.meetingwithsheila.com, as you can see below there, and get some advice, get some free advice, and even get some additional information. There's a free video on sleep deprivation, and which can provide some additional tips. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a fantastic evening and a great week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.